We are. That's 11.
Okay, you may go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. So, first of all, you may notice one or two new faces. I would like to take this opportunity to ask our new representative from Base Borden to introduce himself. I see him up there in the corner, at least on mine, he's in the corner. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Lieutenant Colonel Jean-Martin Brault. I just arrived at CFB Borden this summer. I lived in the Barrie area from 2006 to 2011 at a time when I was serving with at CFB Borden. I've been in the military for 36 years and happy to be replacing Lieutenant Colonel Charlene Quebec, who has been posted to Germany. I don't know if she pulls some strings on this committee, but in any case, I was noticing that there is, so Japan is part of this, Germany, France, and England. And I've had the opportunity in my career to jump from a perfectly safe aircraft in all four of these countries. And it's been a great experience. So
we basically know you're nuts, which means you'll work out perfectly with the rest of us.
Perfect. All right. And
Well,
I don't want to take too much time. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Well, welcome aboard. And I think you'll find this not terribly stressful, but hopefully fairly informative.
Okay.
With permission of the committee, I'd like to move our presentation by our webmaster, Kieran Biles-Ho, up to the front of the meeting. Are there any objections to that?
No.
So I would like to literally turn this over. Kieran has done an amazing job. I think he's going to prove that right now. You've all had a link, which hopefully you've had an opportunity to at least wander through. If not, don't worry, because we're about to have him explain it all, except I think I've already screwed up. I hate Zoom meetings. Tammy, we have some other people that are not normally part of the committee that have actually joined us today.
Yes, we have John Mastrioni from our Information Technology Department. And we've got Kevin Rankin from Parks. Is it Parks Planning, Kevin? I forget what department you're considered now.
Yeah, Parks and Forestry Operations.
Yeah.
Thank you to both of you for joining us. I apologize that I missed introducing you at the beginning. To be fair, I literally was looking around the screen and realized there are more people here I don't recognize. So I thank you for joining us. We'll try not to keep you too late, but I do appreciate it. Hiromi, welcome. Good to see you joining us. So back to you, Kieran. If you could then take the basically take the bull by the horns and working with Tammy, run through whatever it is you'd like to present to us.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll just share my screen. Okay. So for those of you who I haven't had the chance to meet yet, I'm Kieran. I've been in charge of essentially establishing and developing the website for the International Relations Committee. And yeah, we'll kind of dive right into that. So we've been focusing on just putting up a couple of sections. These are the 6 main subjects that you'd see on your navigation bar, which are the Youth Ambassador section, Global Perspectives, Zweibrück in Germany, Miriam Japan, Harrogate, United Kingdom, and Arras, France. And those are our 4 recurrent partner cities. So as for a timeline and where we're at, we started in, I want to say late May, early June, in terms of creating website layout and essentially setting everything up. In July and August, we were kind of just developing a bunch of the experimental content and pretty much designing a layout, if you will, or like a design for the actual website. So that was a lot of coding. Right now, we're just in the process of putting up all the content. So I've been in touch with essentially the heads of all the different committees for the different sister cities. And we've just been trying to get all this content onto the website into different formats. Moving forward in October, we're hopefully going to have all of this content up on the pages, and we'll just be troubleshooting and essentially putting in those last minute, little parts. And then we'll hopefully have this final project all done before the November meeting. That's the current goal right now. Yeah, so the next thing is I will give you a live demonstration of the actual website. So a lot of the content on here is still, as you can imagine, there's a lot of bugs and errors that kind of happen within creating a website or doing anything computer related. So this is kind of where we're at right now. There's going to be a lot of changes. A lot of the pictures haven't been added. A lot of things need to get fixed up. So just kind of bear with me is my main thing. The website's still largely under construction as we're just piecing everything together. So this is the main page that we open up to, and you'll be able to kind of go through, and we have a kind of an opening message from the mayor himself, and we just have essentially a bunch of content that goes towards the different sort of sites. So this is kind of where we're at the homepage. I'll look at the other ones. One of the more developed of the website is Harrogate. And essentially what we kind of have for each different sister city is the history, past years, testimonials of former programs and future, so that people can kind of go in and see what sort of connection we have with these different places and what we've done in the past. So I'll go to just some of those pages just so you can kind of see the layout and some of the content that we've been going through. If you do want to see like the full test site, you can email myself and Maury, and we'll kind of get you in touch and show you a couple of the things if you would want. But this will kind of just be a quick run through so that you can see the progress that we've been making. I'll go through one of the past years ones, actually, 2018 maybe. As you can see, we're still working on some of the bugs, like the pictures take a bit of time to load for some of them just because they're so high quality and we're going to have to downsize them. But essentially all the content is here for a bunch of the programs that have run in the past or the history that we have with each different place. And as for the two programs, we're also in the midst of uploading everything. A lot of the content's already up there, and there's a bunch of things to kind of help promote the programs and help people get involved with them. So there'd be like applications available or youth master funding, essentially just different places where people can go. And that's kind of where the website's at right now. A lot of the sections, we're missing some content still, so we're just throwing that up right now. That's kind of the current process. If I go back to the presentation, what we still need from just a couple of the other members. So if you're able to help out in any way, this is kind of the slide that will tell you what we need to do. So we're just adding the final content creation. So we're just getting all the rest of the content. We're going to be doing a website review just to make sure that this essentially website says that everything that we want it to possibly say, and that it doesn't, say something that's not exactly true. Just kind of doing a revision of everything and making sure that it's all accurate. And the last thing we'll be doing is final fixes, just kind of on a technical side, making sure that it abides by the AJ and it's accessible to everyone. So that's kind of where we're at. If you do have any comments or concerns, please feel free to email me. My email is right here, or you can email Maury to get in touch with me. Either one works. Maury might have a preference on that one, but yeah, that's about it for me. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kieran. I really appreciate it. Are there any questions before I move on to a few things that I want to talk about with regard to this? Are there any direct questions for anyone? All right, Tammy, could you do me a favor?
Hmm?
Oh, sorry, you don't have a picture up. I didn't know whether that meant you were good there or not. So could you do me a favor and send all members of the committee the link that Kieran has provided you? Or if you don't have it, maybe Kieran can provide it to you so that everyone can spend some time checking their specific area in conjunction with all the other areas that are going on. I honestly thought that had already happened, Kieran, and if it hasn't, I apologize. And if it has, then everybody already has it. But I think it's worthwhile so that everyone can take a look at it. So I don't know.
So the committee heads all have the link. They've received it a couple times in a couple previous emails. The ones that have like content up there, I've specifically outlined the pages that are up there and need to be revised. A couple of them have been. It's just we're different places with different cities. So essentially the heads do have the link to it. If anybody else does want it, though, we can kind of work that out.
I actually appreciate what you're suggesting. I mean, I appreciate what you've done, but I would like all members of the committee to have it, Tammy. So can you take care of that for me?
Sure can.
Fine.
Or for
I'll
us?
email it to you right now,
Yeah,
actually.
you can. Thank you.
Thank you very
One-
much.
One thing to note is that the URL that he's sending around is on the server that he's developing on. So that is not going to be the final URL. When the site is complete, I will work with Kieran and we'll get the copy of the content. We'll move it over to our servers here and it'll have a .berry.ca URL.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And John, one last thing or one thing for you. I'm assuming that if you have a problem with anything that we're doing, you'll be in touch with Kieran and me or Kieran and I so that we're not stepping in at the last minute because he's put in a lot of work.
Yep.
And I mean, I know you've been awesome thus far, but I just want to make sure that please, if we're going off on some wild tangent that's nuts, drag us back in. All right. Because
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And-
We're committed to assisting you as best we can. Everybody's on board that I've talked to.
Cool.
I'm also going to put, and I think Cheryl Dillon has been in contact. I don't know if she's been in contact with you, Kieran, but there's been some emails floating around. She's in charge of AODA for the city of Barrie. And my thoughts are if it's going to be hosted on a Barrie domain, that we'll probably have to get her to do a once over of it to make sure that we're not doing anything that's that the AODA police are going to come after us for, because it is associated with the Barrie domain. That we've got to make sure that we're meeting all criterias for municipalities in regards to websites.
And that makes perfect sense. Kieran's well aware that actually he calmed me considerably, John, because after our conversation, I had no idea what you were talking about. Hey, I don't know anything about AOD, whatever an acronym is.
Yeah.
But when I first mentioned it to Kieran, he was like, yeah, whatever. No, this is obvious. There's no problem. So, I mean, he's obviously far more aware of all of this than I am. So his engagement with Cheryl will be fantastic and greatly appreciated.
Yeah, we've been in touch about that. So he knows exactly what he's got to do. And like I said, we're going to do what we can to assist him. And hopefully we can get this thing up by November. So
Cool. No, that'd be
All right.
great. But
Sounds
just
good.
so let me help with one little structural thing. I would ask the members of various committees that if they want to add something, that they go through their subcommittee chair in order to add with it, because that, I mean, to be fair to Kieran, he doesn't know who any of you are except for the ones he's been dealing with. So the individuals that are involved, if you see something that you either have a real problem with or that you really like, or you think you can add something to, please go through your committee chair, who will then do whatever to contact Kieran or myself, however that's going to work. But I just don't want to have suddenly 4 people he's never heard from before dumping stuff on Kieran. All right. So it's just a logical progress to all of this. Okay. Please take some time to go through it, because I've worked with Kieran throughout this, and I have to tell you, I'm extremely impressed with the job that he's done thus far. And in fact, I need to make sure that everyone's aware that the reason he is not 100% done has nothing to do with him and everything to do with people like me that simply missed the deadlines. I mean, I found it impossible to get everything done that I needed to get done. So for instance, the write-up, there's a couple of write-ups that I'm responsible for that I haven't completed yet. So that's the reason why, and it's not just me, there are others, but I'll shoulder this. It's taken longer than we'd anticipated because it's much more in depth than perhaps we had anticipated at the beginning. So he's done amazing work with what's been given to him. And the sooner we get everything in, or maybe the sooner I get everything in, I don't know whether I'm the only one left, but however that works, the sooner we get it to Kieran, the sooner it's all done. And the anticipation is that we'll have another quickie report in October, but presumably it'll all be done so that by November, it's simply, here we go. And John and Kieran can put the final touches on with whomever in order to get it live, which is going to be vital because A, we want to get this done in this budget year. But more importantly than that is that we need to have it so that programs that are going to run that require an application, such as the Global Perspectives one, it is up and running long in advance of anyone having to apply to that program. All right. So by meeting the November deadline, we're good to do that. Any questions from anyone? Perfect. Kieran, on behalf of the committee, thank you for everything that you're doing. And go have a good time at Queens, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. I've loved being part of this project, and I'll talk to you, a couple of you guys soon.
All right. Take care, Kieran.
Thank
Enjoy the
you.
rest of your evening. Bye-bye. And John, same with you. I really appreciate the fact you're welcome to stay, obviously, but I certainly would understand that you may have other things to occupy some of your time this evening. And by the way, for anyone paying attention, there are torrential downpours and trees bent sideways here at the beach. So this may soon be coming your way. All right. So
All right,
I would
thanks,
love
guys.
to have, take care. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Take care.
Dave.
Good seeing you guys. Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Dave,
All right.
Dave, if I may, while we're still on the topic, I'd like to put a motion forward.
Thank you.
Kieran has done a tremendous amount of work so far, and I think that we should give him a partial payment for all the hard work. He's been at it all summer long. So my motion would be, I request partial payment for Kieran in the amount of $1,500 for work done on web creation for IRC to date.
Seconder?
It's Bill Sargent. I'll second that.
Perfect. I'll simply add my support to it. I mean, I think, to be fair, although yes, he's not done, but the reason he's not done is because of myself and others like me. But more importantly, he's also a university student and he needs to buy books now. And it doesn't make sense to delay the payment because I got busy. So we're not paying for it, all of it until the end. But I think 1,500 is a reasonable number at this time, and I'd ask your support. Any other questions or comments at this point? Seeing none, all in favor? Raise your hands in front of a camera. All right, there we go. Any opposed? And as usual, it is wonderfully easy to work with committee. It's unanimous. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Bill.
Take care,
Okay,
guys. Yeah.
thank you very
See
much.
you later, John.
Take care. Tammy, I have a screen. I don't have an agenda and I don't know how to split that up. So tell me what's next.
Okay, so what you may want to do is move up the German stuff because Kevin Rankin's here for
I
the
do.
commemorative bench.
That's exactly what I want. Thank you.
Okay,
So over to Jean-Maurice. There we go. Thank you.
I have Rob Warman on the phone here. He dialed me because he couldn't get in on his own computer. So he's been
Okay.
following the meeting so far. I'm holding my house phone up to the computer and he's on base with us. So I don't know if he can, Rob, can you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I had Tammy send an email late this afternoon. I don't know how many got it.
Yep.
But the one project that we were working on was so that we could spend some of the money this year was the commemorative bench, which would be put in the park on the South Shore. And we do have permission for the location that we chose, as you saw in the email that I sent out from the city. So my motion would be that an amount not to exceed $500,000 be approved for the commemorative bench to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the twinning between the city of Barrie and the city of Zweibrück in Germany.
So Rob, I'm assuming you meant $5,000, not $500,000.
No, five. If I type something in different, I'm sorry about that.
Actually, my only confusion is, haven't we already passed this motion? No, Tammy, we haven't? All right, good, fine. Is there a seconder? Maurice, seconds. All right, any questions, discussion?
Kevin Rankin's here if anybody has any questions on it as well, if you have any
So-
questions for him.
I have a question. Is the chair allowed to ask questions or do I need to give the chair to Mark to do this?
You can ask questions.
All right. So here's my question. Actually, maybe I should start with Rob. Is this for the creation and like the purchase of this bench? Or does this involve the bench and the installation and all the rest of that?
It includes everything.
Pardon?
It includes everything.
So my question is,
The purchase, the engraving, and the installation.
so, and Kevin, perhaps you can help me understand this. All right.
Yeah.
And once again, I plead ignorance, so be patient with me, Kevin, please. why are we paying, when this is a city thing, it's owned by the city, this committee is the city. I'm curious as to understanding why we're responsible to pay for the installation rather than the city.
I don't know, but I'm sure you saw the email that came back from the city saying that they would not be responsible for the installation.
Actually, Rob, I read that, and now I'm giving the city an opportunity to explain their email to me. Kevin?
Sure. So the normal commemorative benches are basically a wood bench with a metal frame and a brass plaque. They're about $1,600 plus installation time, and they go on simple little tiny sleepers. Our staff have lots of experience putting those in. These large granite benches are too heavy to use with any of our equipment that we have, and we don't have the expertise to install these properly, so we don't know how they're seated, how the back and the seat attach, and what kind of appropriate sleeper to put it on. And I see with the installation with Tompkin and Heels, they do a proper pad that's set for the bench, so you don't get the bench moving. You don't have any risk of somebody pushing it over because it's not connected properly. There's a lot of risk with these large, expensive benches. The last thing you want is somebody be able to tip it over because we didn't install it properly. So it's way better to have the experts do it. It's the same thing. You wouldn't ask a landscaper to install your electrical in your house. You go to the right experts to do the work. So that's our recommendation, was have Tompkin and Heels actually install a proper pad and attached properly, so there's no risk of any damage or us doing it improperly.
Okay, thank you. It's a reasonable explanation. I just wasn't aware of, I guess I didn't really understand that we were doing that different a bench. I mean, in my ignorance, a bench is a bench is a bench. So I appreciate you taking the time to explain that to me.
No problem.
I'm pretty sure this isn't you, but because I was confused with the title changes, the city changes the names of departments and things with ridiculous regularity. Are you the guy that I talked to about the signs we ordered 3.5 years ago that have yet to be put up? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. I'll just talk to somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know. What signs would they be?
The entrance to the city, there were signs that were supposed to be made 3.5-4 years ago. A couple got put up. None of the rest have, and the committee's
The twinning signs?
The twinning signs, yeah.
Yeah, so there would be traffic services who does all the signs across the city. I
Okay.
can get you in touch with the right person. I can
I'm
flip you
sure
an email.
It's all good, or
Just so
Tammy
you
can,
know,
it's all good.
I've sent an email to, would that be Dave Ferrari area?
Not anymore. No,
Who's-
as Dave mentioned, there's always moves and stuff. It's
Okay.
Steve Rose would be the right person to contact. Yeah.
Just for interest, we have seen one of the new signs up, and they've gone from
One.
blue to white. Yeah, it's the
One.
one entrance, but we've
Well, we
seen.
haven't looked for them all, but we just drove by one of them, so we saw
So
it.
we have seen it started anyhow.
I can follow up with Steve.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. And Kevin, thank you very much for taking your time. Are there any further questions? Then all those in favor, are you voting?
No,
Are you
I
question?
did have a question.
Of course.
What's the yearly budget in terms of what is available for expenditures, like roughly on a yearly basis?
Okay, so actually, I give it to you pretty specifically. In non-COVID years,
Yeah.
our budget's approximately $37,000 to do a variety of things in the community. Last year, when we were considering budget, we knew we weren't going to be doing a lot of hosting of different groups. So we basically established a budget of $20,000. The city establishes a budget routine, which is fairly standard in organizations, where whatever's left at the end of the year simply gets rolled back into general funds, and you start fresh every year. We were concerned that start fresh was going to be complicated for us in the first year of the post-COVID. So the suggestion was made here that the money that we had in the budget, so we only took a budget of $20,000 last year with a full understanding we would go back to our regular numbers as we will in 2022. But at the moment, there are things that, since we expect greater expenditures in the future, and we are not allowed to carry forward, although we do have a reasonable reserve fund, the idea is that if there are things that we can expend that we know we're going to do, then let's get them done now with the money we have in this year's, what I refer to as the COVID budget. Does that make sense?
Good.
All right, perfect. Voting time. Any questions? Again, seeing none. Oh, yep. Next.
Sorry, I wanted to know, because there was different benches, the granite ones with and stuff like that. And then the one that's listed here is the polished Paradiso with the back bench.
Paradiso, yeah.
Paradiso. Which one is that? Is there an image of it?
Well, not in the email.
Well, there's images in the email, so I just wasn't sure if there was a sample of it down there.
So the the Paradiso is the color of the granite. It's a reddish, a darker reddish granite.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So if you're familiar with the Military Heritage Park and the bench that's there to the Princess Royal, Her Royal Highness Princess Anne from the Gray and Simcoe Foresters, it's that style, and it looks quite similar to that color.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. All right. Any other questions? All in favor? Raise your hands close to your cameras.
Yes.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. All right. Tammy, keep me semi on schedule. What's next?
Okay, well, there was one, I just put one up for the committee budget update, which it doesn't appear that you guys have spent any money out of the funds yet this year. So I know there's some allotted, there's some been allotted to for Kieran. Is that how you say his name? Sorry.
Kieran, yes.
Yeah. There's been some money allotted for him as well for it to come out of the budget, and now the 5,000 for the bench. So
well, and there may be some other monies coming up as well as this meeting progresses. So I appreciate that. Well, essentially, folks, we're talking, we have $20,000 and we've just spent 5,000 of it on this bench, and we will spend 3,000 of it on Kieran.
What about the flags?
And that's coming up. We got to get there in the process.
Okay, I just because of the budget.
So I would suggest, actually, Tammy, which would you prefer? Do you want to deal with all these expenditure motions up front during the budget thing, or do you want to go through each of the individual subcommittees?
Keep them with the subject matter, what it's about, so that we can keep it straight.
Okay. Is there anything else from Zweibrücken other than the benches at this point? Is there anything, any new information?
Just to, if you want me to finish up, Dave, we're working on the exchange between a delegation from Zweibrücken and a delegation from going to Zweibrücken. And we'll have more particulars on that for the October meeting.
Okay, good luck. I mean, I think that's great, but I'm like all of us, I think we all expected 2022 to be a big year. And I think increasingly it's looking like 2022 might be much like 2021. However, because of these anticipated things that we've been working on, just so you know, because it fits into budget, I will be submitting to the clerk's office that we revert back to our original budget numbers for the coming year, so that we are prepared to deal with things appropriately when they happen. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Rob and Jean-Maurice. Who's next, Tammy?
Do Japan twinning, please.
Mariama?
Yep. No major updates except one thing. Danielle, who's been under contract and worked with us for the last number of years, his contract has come up and it wasn't going to be renewed. They want to look for somebody new. And so Daniel will be going into Tokyo, but he still will communicate until we have our complete liaise solved. So he will continue on in that. Just on a note, Murayama and the whole Yamagata prefecture has been very slow to being vaccinated. There's not going to be an exchange next summer, most likely. Now that could change because there's a lot of pressure on the country itself now. But right now, that whole area, there are a few that have been vaccinated, but it's very, very slow in the northern area of Japan. And Hiromi, have you had any more update from any of that? Oh, you're on mute, Hiromi.
You're on mute, Hiromi.
Can you
There
hear me
go.
now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, in Japan, people under 18 years old are not really vaccinated yet. Very few of them. So they will be the last ones. So we don't know when.
yeah. So we're all just, it's a guessing game. Thanks.
And just to be clear, and this is not a debate, this is a statement of fact. The city of Barrie will not be engaged in any type of exchanges unless everyone's vaccinated. And that includes the homestay they're going to, as well as whatever homestays we're offering here. And guys, give me a break. I'm not getting into a debate about this. It's just the liabilities to all of this are just far too obvious. And we're a government organization, and that's exactly how it's going to function. So it is what it is. So you should all be aware of that as we move forward. Okay, who's next, Tammy?
Youth ambassadors.
I have no update.
Well, actually,
You might, I don't.
and actually neither do I, except I have a semi-youth ambassadors one from Arras, but I'll save it for Arras. So thank you. Although I will add one thing. I honestly don't believe that the youth ambassadors trip to Japan in 2022 will happen. I just don't think, I mean, I'm hopeful. It all sounds good. But given where we are with Delta and vaccinations, and especially what Mark just told us about what's going on in Murayama, and it's not just their kids, but their families they got to stay with.
That's right.
I just don't think it's going to happen. So it's kind of sad news, but you know what? We'll see. Maybe things get better. Who knows? All right. Next is probably global then, right?
Yes.
Jamie?
Well, yep. Good news and other news. The good news is we've have 27 of 28 spots filled for global. If you do know somebody who's interested in 5 credits, second semester of this year for grade 11, we'll take an application. We're not, we'll take an application. We'll interview them. We're probably not traveling. The school board has put off any decision on traveling, so I haven't even done the paperwork, but I've been speaking with the now associate director of education with the board, Ms. Stevens. It doesn't look promising, but there's been no final decision. And really, we're in a holding pattern. Thinking of our friends in Cuba that are struggling down there. And I don't have anything else to add unless you do, Maury.
No, I mean, that's actually the only thing you added is that I wasn't aware that Dawn Stevens had been promoted yet again. So that's new information, but her son was in the program during one of these COVID years. So it's not like she doesn't know the pain we're going through. So that's a positive thing.
She's a friend of the program, and her daughter is, I think, in grade 10. So
yeah. And the other thing I will add is that one of the biggest problems we have, even if we were able to travel, Cuba would be a problem because they haven't opened their universities yet. So when this started, I don't know how much anyone cares, but very quickly, Cuba closed. Cuba has an emergency response attitude where they close public institutions that aren't engaged. So they closed all the universities, sent the professors and students home to whatever village they were from, and they immediately joined and in some cases organized their various emergency volunteer responses. So where this is valid is that the guy that runs our program in Cuba, Rydell Rodriguez Valiardes, or Valiardes Rodriguez, who's a full professor at the university, has been organizing rotations of student and professors volunteer work in the hospitals at Matanzas. I just spoke to him a couple of days ago, and the universities are not open. And if the university isn't open, he has no students and no one with whom to run a program. So Cuba won't happen until they start their universities again. And as an aside, for more information, not debate focused, the riots you saw were about starvation, just so you know. And they have since made a few international humanitarian runs, including 2 from Canada. All right, Dak, that's all I have. Like I said, nothing really new, a little bit of chatter. Who's next?
Harrogate.
Okay.
Bill?
Right now, we don't have anything scheduled. Try as Lou and Rick have to make contact with the secretary of the Harrogate Rugby Club. It's been radio silence ever since. I have emailed Michael and asked for a Zoom meeting with him just to discuss the situation. And what I'm supposing may be happening is the same thing that's happening here. The rates are going up with the Delta variant, and they just don't want to talk about it until they can actually start making some decisions. So that's where we sit right now. The website is relatively complete. Thank you to Bunty and Lou for sending in their articles. So that worked out well. The banners, you had talked about that earlier, Mark, and we can get 2 to 4 banners put up with the Remembrance Day session that the city puts together, and they will be free of charge. And what I was suggesting was that we do one with number 6 Bomber Group headquarters, which is in the borough of Harrogate, as well as Sir Robert Barry. We can do one of them. We can get local veterans from Vimy. I'll have to do a bit of research on that, but we'll find out who is available and put them up and do the Vimy Arras banner on behalf of the IRC. And then another one would be a gentleman who is buried in Stonefall Cemetery in Harrogate from Barrie, and it's Flying Officer William Howard Porritt. So we do banners with them. Sherry Harris, I just need to send her the graphics and she will put those together for putting up. But she said 2 to 4 would be free for us, and I'll just prioritize the 4 that we suggest that we put together, and if we're lucky, we get all 4. For 2022, using the 2021 budget, I would like to make a motion that up to $1,800 be put forward as an amount to purchase 13 banners for next year, and they would be 5 around City Hall, 5 around the library, and 3 down at the lakeshore. And they would be ones that would represent our Twin Cities, our friendship cities.
All right, seconder. All right, see Tina. Anyone else? Questions, comments? All right, all sounds good to me, Bill. Hold it, Tammy. Yep, you're waving.
Tammy's got her hand up.
Yep.
Are those banners going to be purchased this year?
Yes.
Well, put it this way. I don't know about the 2022 set. I can clarify that with
Because
Sherry.
the money should be spent within the year, budget year.
Then, okay, I will clarify that with her.
If you wanted to clarify that.
So we could get the 2 done this year, and then the ones that we pay for, we can get done. The banners last 2 to 4 years, depending on where they are. The ones down on the lakeshore itself, if the winds blow harder down there, tend to deteriorate a little quicker. The other ones that are sheltered near City Hall, can last up to 4 years. But I will start working on that so she can put the whole order in at the same time. And that'll be the end of September, early October.
So do you still want me to mark that expenditure of up to $1,800?
Yes.
If you could for this year, yeah.
Okay.
It'd be something less than 2022.
Okay, and I'm not sure I followed all that, but I want as much of that spent out of this year's budget as we can, Bill.
Yes.
Whatever's possible.
Mhm.
All right. Anything further on that? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Saying none, it's unanimous again. Jean-Martin, are you seeing how this works? We tend to vote unanimously on everything. It's the structure of this thing. The subcommittees do all the real work, and we're a clearinghouse financially and for support. That's essentially how this committee works. Arras, I think I'm up next, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Arras. So I have interesting news. I received an email from Arras literally the day before the long weekend. And I'm crafting a response. I'll send it out to the other members of the subcommittee. And essentially, it's a new person who has been appointed, actually, who is a member of council, which is even better, because it means there's some political skin in the game now, which always makes things easier. He's announcing that he is excited to have learned about the existence of what we're trying to do, and that he was disappointed that Jennifer Mentashi had been reassigned. However, she had talked to him and was surprised he didn't know about it. He wants to get involved and he also wants to start with a youth exchange first. So Kathy, you still with us there? You can tell your colleague that we're going to have some good news soon for her, probably for 2023, as we move forward. So it's exciting, and I'm sort of just crafting a response. So I think that's really good news. We're in the middle of COVID. France isn't doing any better than anybody else, but we're already looking ahead. And so there may be an opportunity to do some type of French immersion program in an exchange with Arras. So this is pretty exciting stuff. Given our relationship with Borden, which just to bring you up to speed on this, Jean-Martin, is that there's a thing called the Borden Legacy Project that involved 2 statues being designed and then built by a local artist. One of them sits, you probably drive by it almost every day going into the base, and it's the Bugler, and it's facing to Europe. And then I was part of a group that signed the agreement with Arras that went in November of 2018. And it was also the unveiling of the second of the 2 buglers that's faced back towards Canada. And it's sort of a response thing, calling back and forth. And the significance between Borden and Vimy Ridge and the Battle of Arras is incredibly important, and it links our communities. And that's how we ended up with a partnership with the city of Arras. And our mayor and the mayor of the city of Arras became close friends in this process, which is perhaps not surprising to anyone. One of the ways these things work is that people make connections, and then those connections develop into these types of relationships. Okay. Tammy, is there anything else on my list?
Sir Robert Barry, if there's anything with that.
Yeah, we've got a few items there. And once again, just news more than anything else. Don Komarechka, the gentleman who has been doing our canvases, has just informed us that him and his family will be moving to Bulgaria at the end of October. Wow. So we no longer have a source for making the canvases. Now, the good news is we have 10 canvases that Mark had ordered and paid for at the end of last year. So Jean-Maurice just picked those up from Don and has delivered those to City Hall. So they are now, and we would like to get 2 more canvases paid for by the Sir Robert Barry funds that are in the City of Barry's coffers. And they will be given to the new high school down on the Maple Ridge on the south end of Barry that was just missed by the tornado that went through there. Anyway, there's one for them. It's going to be a full-size one that we can put in their school, just because they didn't bother to call it Sir Robert Barry Secondary School. So we just want to rub it in. Not that there's any malice there. Yeah. And the other one we want to give to the other high school in Barry, the Christian Unity High School here. So, so that will just be the regular 16 by 20 that we've presented to the other high schools. So that brings you up to speed on that. I've been in touch with a gentleman named Garfield Lewis, a veteran who has served with the RCR. He's down in London, and a friend of his just passed away. His wife's downsizing, and she happened to come across a 3 foot by 6 foot Royal Canadian Naval ensign that had flown on HMCS Barry.
Oh, cool.
So he has gotten in touch with us through Tammy. Thank you, Tammy, for putting him in touch with me. He's willing to ride up here during the week, sometime between the 13th and the 26th of September, to present that to the mayor or the deputy mayor, and do a bit of a photo opportunity. The Sir Robert Barry Committee would like to have that framed and get permission to hang it in the rotunda just above the 8 foot model of HMCS Barry. And we would get that done through the McLaren Art Center. And then once that has been framed, we would like to do an official unveiling with the mayor or the deputy mayor or members of council, and have the spouse of Garfield Lewis's friend who, passed away, up to actually do the unveiling with the mayor. So that's where we sit. We had a virtual meeting with the committee at the end of August, and the minutes were approved today by Chairman Rob Warman, and they have been sent over to Wendy, as well as a copy to the mayor's office and to Craig Miller.
Thank you. And just to correct just to make sure we're all on the same page, all of this that you're presenting is information for us.
Absolutely.
There's no monetary commitments from IRC to any part of this.
No, there is not. It's
Okay.
all Sir Robert Barry money. Yeah.
Okay. May I offer a little heads up? Just,
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure, I don't know how to say this without, when you deal with publicly funded schools, you're on the side of the saints in all the heavens. When you start getting into private schools, be aware you may be opening a bit of, I mean, there's many more than just this Christian Heritage High School. And
All right.
you may find yourself in a situation where suddenly you need 8 more of them that you weren't anticipating in your cost analysis. Within the
Okay.
public boards, it's pretty simple. It's easy to count. When you start getting into privately funded schools, there are a lot that may end up, you know, and it's none of my business because you're not asking money from us. I'm just giving you a
No,
heads
it's a
up.
good heads up, and I thank you for it. Yeah.
All right, cool. Is there anything else? Tammy?
Just,
No, that's it.
Sorry, Mark. Yep.
I just wanted to ask Bill, so when he makes these prints for us, he must have a file or something. Is it possible we can get that from him so that we can go search another individual to print these for us?
Yes, we do have the, I'm going to call mega size files.
Okay.
And they're on USBs. So we can go out and get those done elsewhere.
Okay.
I don't know if
great.
you guys can see this. Can you see this?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one of the prints.
Okay.
So
I have them
what we
sitting by my
ordered,
desk right now.
yeah, they're gorgeous. We ordered 5 of Sir Robert Barry and then 5 of the frigates. So
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so that's, we thought, you know, because like we've given Japan a Sir Robert Barry, so we get going in a couple of years, then we can use the frigate, you know, and then that
Yeah,
way.
and in case anyone's lost on this, the purchases were made as a part of our gifting.
Yeah.
So that we maintain the stockpile of gifts that we then hand out on these various tours. So
And
that's why they
thank
were
you,
purchased.
Tammy, for taking ownership of them.
Got them out of our house.
Yeah.
Boxes of it.
Well, very good.
They're sitting
Yeah.
by my desk right now.
Oh,
As
Put
safe
them
as,
away
any-
yet.
as
Okay.
safe as anywhere else these days.
Yeah.
I just have one thing to add, just a curiosity point before we go, and it's not on the agenda, but so clearly, just to clarify, the Legacy Fund has done nothing because I'm not dumb enough to go wandering around asking people to donate money to programs that aren't happening. All right. So, I mean, I think it's irresponsible if I were to do that. The Legacy Fund sits at somewhere around $45,000. I don't have the numbers in front of me. We did well as it started, but trust me, I'm already putting together a sort of a bang restart once we start. I mean, the very first time there's a youth delegation going somewhere, I just want to let people know that I will be prepared at that point to start with a bit of a bang to basically reach our goal. And I still believe that our goal of at least $100,000 is entirely reasonable and accessible. And we may do much better than that, but we need to have a strategy for how to sort of rekindle this fire. And trust me, I just want to let you know that I'm working with a few people on that, and I feel pretty confident of it. But it's absolutely counterproductive to try and raise money from people right now in the midst of this when no one's going anywhere, anyways. So, if you're curious, that's where we're at. All right. Is there anything else from anyone for any reason about anything? Seeing nothing, I'd like to thank you all for taking time on a stormy evening for the longest meeting we've had of IRC in my memory. All right. But no, seriously, it's all been good. You're all doing great stuff. For those of you that have some outstanding stuff like me, the sooner you get it to Kieran, the sooner we get the whole thing finished up. And any rate, thank you all for everything, and take care and stay safe. I'm out. Bye-bye. Thanks for
Bye.
everything.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Tammy, do I just say goodbye and shut off?
Yes, you can just leave the meeting.
Thank you. I don't know how to do that, but I'll work it out. How about I just turn it off?